My advice when someone is truly struggling is, obviously, I can say, take it to the Lord, and that is true. There are verses that I will say are so life-giving to me, and I will just kind of hunker down on them. And one that I think has meant the world to me has been, I'm going to say, one is Isaiah 61 verses 3 through 5. And that's where you hear Jesus is calling that he's been sent to set the captives free.
Yes.
And then to restore, to replace beauty for ashes and,
Mourning.
butchering
Yes.
it, mourning,
Yes.
gladness for mourning and peace for despair. And but I also love the very end of that. So sometimes you kind of focus on 3 and 4, but verse 5, and I find myself just praying this because earlier in our conversation, you mentioned God as a redeemer. And in verse 5, it talks about how he has 3 R's. He's going to rebuild, he's going to renew, and he's going to redeem the places that were taken captive and they have been long destroyed, the ruins. And I love that. And I end up praying over that and just asking God to redeem that feeling. And also another verse that I think it's correct. I'm like, because I'm not always good at the addresses. I think it's Isaiah 26. It might be 3 and 4 again. So I think that's why in my brain, somewhere in there. It's just talking about how, like, when our minds are steadfast on the Lord and we trust in Him, um, you know, when we trust in Him, He makes our minds steadfast. And so that is just, I just kind of savor some of those verses. But I would say if you're feeling overwhelmed, you need to talk to someone. You need to find someone you can trust. And that's always like one of my, when I speak, I'm always telling people at homeschool conventions, like find your trustworthy people, find your safe people. And I think when you're having those deep emotions, you do need to have a safe person in your life that you can talk to. And so for some people, that is a counselor. For some people, it's a pastor. For some people, it's just a friend. But I guarantee you that finding someone in your life just to share your heart with, there's something healing when we can actually talk through it and feel heard. And so I would also say that if you have a friend that's struggling, make sure that you're talking to them and, acknowledge what they're saying, validate what they're saying. It's just, we are not meant to be alone. God created us to be relational. And so my encouragement would be just, find a trusted friend, get in the Word, but not just like random Bible studies, like do a Google, ask ChatGPT. Like what are some verses that talk about, whatever it is you're struggling with when you feel overwhelmed, or when you're feeling depressed or when you're feeling blue or however you want to describe that feeling. Just, look it up. But that's amazing now is that I used to always like my Bible, the center of my Bible with all the scripture references, it's filled with all of my little notes about other little reference points. But
Yes.
now we have this wonderful thing called the internet. But there's all kinds of different techniques. One big thing is getting outside. It's really important to move your body.
Yes.
You need sun. Like sun is actually really important for you. And if you live in a cloudy area, I get it. But, you can still, like, sunlight's important. Moving is important. And like deep breathing. At first, it always sounds so like, ooh, deep breathing. Is that like some weird like psychology thing?
Yeah, that's
but
right.
like, there's actually physiological things that happen. God created us that when we take a deep breath and we hold it, that like it is a vasodilator. And so like our body is actually helping us to move the blood better. And so that helps you to stop, like, because I know for me, I tend to like hold my breath, I'm stressed. And so that's not good. So we need to breathe. But there's all kinds of little tips and hacks and things like that that people can do if they're feeling overwhelmed. But hopefully that's helpful.